Welcome to a new episode of OT Cyber from the plant floor up. We have a special guest today, Eric Persch from EliteOps, and our amazing host, Jeff Smith, the CTO here at DYNICS. Welcome, Jeff and Eric.
Good morning, Jen.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Jeff, do you want to kick it off by asking Eric about his background and all that jazz?
Absolutely. So we've got Eric on the call with us. Eric is one of the cybersecurity technology partners with DYNICS. I should say Eric and his company. A little bit of background on Eric. He started in the United States Marine Corps in cybersecurity. Thank you for your service. And did a lot of engineering and architecture there and classified work in the cybersecurity space. And per his own words, decided to do the idiot move of starting his own company, which it seems like has turned out to be pretty successful for you, Eric.
Yeah, Jeff, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, did a lot of work in the Marine Corps and just love cybersecurity. I always say it's a passion of mine. It's not really a job. So just got really into it in the Marines, and I was on the vendor side of security technologies at companies like Palo Alto and companies like that for about 15 years, and decided I saw some gaps in the value-added reseller market and got super excited and came over here and started it up.
Sounds great. So how long is EliteOps? How long has there been an EliteOps?
Yeah, so EliteOps has only been out now for about 6 months. So I left my job about 6 months ago to come over and really start focusing on it. But I'd say that all of our resources and everything have been onboarded, and we've been helping about 20 to 30 different customers now over the last 3 months.
That's actually a little surprising because you guys sure seem like you've got it all together. You seem like you've got a talented group of guys. It seems like you've got a focus, and I don't often see that with companies that have been on the books about 6 months. So that speaks a lot towards your experience and the experience of your team. So
yeah, for sure. It's really the experience of my team. The people we brought over are just tremendous. They've been in the industry, 15, 20 years as well. And, our model is a little bit different than other value-added resellers. So with that model, what we tell customers is really resonating, and really the company's built for customers. We interviewed a lot of customers, and all the ideas came from them. So brought amazing people over, and have some amazing customers we talked to that have partnered up with us, and we're super excited to help them and hopefully change the whole entire model across the U.S. of how value-added resellers work with customers.
So that's really an odd idea, actually involving your customers in the direction your company takes. What kind of crazy talk is that, Eric? I mean, it's just unheard of in today's environment. Most people just do what they want to do, throw this out and say, this is what we're going to do. So actually bringing the customers in it's funny because I talk about that all the time. So I'm saying this all a little tongue in cheek. And I've got another good friend of mine who's got a business down in Texas who he and I talk about that frequently, that it's just amazing how many people start companies, and they're not starting the company because they want to help solve problems. They're starting the company because they want to have a company, and they don't even talk to the customers or the end users who should be driving the nature and the form of the business. They just kind of throw spaghetti against the wall, and sometimes they're lucky enough that it sticks. But if you figure out how to cook the spaghetti first, it probably goes a long ways.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really why we started. It was I've partnered with a lot of CISOs, however you pronounce it, wherever you're from. But just partnering with them over the last 15 years and solving a lot of different security challenges. I kept hearing the same things over and over again of how the value-added reseller market's kind of failing them. So I just kept digging into that. And then, I think I was at dinner with a CISO like a year ago, and he's like, hey, man, you got so many good ideas of how you could innovate the value-added reseller market. You should go start your own company. And it really started to spin around in my brain. And I'm like, you know what? I think we could help customers and go do this.
Yeah, that's great. It's the other thing I'd point out too is, and this, for the folks that are listening is, Eric's got a lot of experience, and his team's got a lot of experience in the IT cyberspace, but they've got quite a bit of experience in the OT space. So there's and I wasn't aware of that when we first started talking. I think we met down we have a joint or a customer in common, let's say. that kind of led to this partnership. And in conversations with you there, I learned a lot more about the skill set and the broad breadth of skills that your team has that covers not only the IT space, obviously, but the OT space as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think, OT security has always been important. I don't think that it's ever not been important, but I'd say over the last probably 3 years, we've seen a significant increase of the board level really caring about OT security. So it used to be the cybersecurity team would come to us, say, hey man, like we got OT project and we don't have a lot of budget and we're probably just going to use some of the stuff that we use on the enterprise side. But that's been just shifted so much with all the attacks and supply chain attacks and all the craziness kind of going on with, VPNs and different things. We've seen that OT security has become just more and more important. And these are board level conversations, right? Hey, these are the most important critical systems that make us money on these floors. We got to protect these things. So I've just seen, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too, but just over the last 2-3 years, the board really caring and budget really opening up on the OT security space.
Yeah, I think they've figured out what I've been telling people for years is that if you don't protect manufacturing, that's where if you don't protect your manufacturing environment as an executive level decision maker, that's where your money comes from. So IT is great, and having all the IT cyber is great. But at the end of the day, if you're a manufacturer and you are not safely and securely putting products out the back door, you don't need any of the rest of those services. You don't need IT, you don't need management, you don't need staff or employees. At the end of the day, if you're a manufacturer, your goal is to manufacture. And if someone is able to compromise the very means of that manufacturing, and you're not doing what you can to protect it, it's going to significantly impact your bottom line, which is going to impact the success and the longevity of your customer. And I think a lot of these CISOs and C-level executives have figured out that their career path involves protecting the OT space, because if they don't, they won't have much of a career path.
No, I 100% agree. It's businesses are in motion to make a bunch of money, right? And if your business isn't profitable or doing well, then you're probably not making as much money. And I'd say that we've seen a lot over the last couple of years that the shop floors are just becoming more and more automated, right? Each year, new technology comes out that helps, speed up the production time, speed up the floor times. And I think like as we're embedding more and more technology into the shop floor, that also leaves a lot more gaps from a security perspective. So I've seen a lot of successful CISOs really changing their thought process of, okay, like I have to enable the business. I can't just lock all this stuff down, because if I lock it down, our competition is going to have better technology than us, and they're going to be able to produce more, better, and faster. So I'm going to have to enable the business and allow this to be open. But how do I allow this to be open in a secure fashion that does enable the business to move at a way more cyclic rate than our competition?
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting. I guess I'd like to talk a little bit about the partnership or the relationship that we've kind of developed and we're marching forward with, because I know on the DYNICS side, we're pretty excited about it. When you work with a company that has the skill set, the capabilities, and just the presence in the industry that EliteOps has, I have to say, we feel fortunate that you like our products, you like what we do with them, you like how we deliver it to the OT space. But from your perspective, why DYNICS? What about DYNICS in our OT cybersecurity leads you to focus on what we do versus perhaps the other people in the industry?
So yeah, I mean, I'll take 10 seconds and maybe just explain the EliteOps model just a little bit. And I think it'll make sense on why we selected it. But EliteOps is a value-added reseller, but we specialize in just security. Traditional resellers, they emphasize sales and deal registration, while our hearts lie in technical operations and getting customers true ROI out of their security tools. Our team's built with less salespeople, and it allows us to take those commissions that you would normally give to salespeople and put those in and reinvest them back into the customers with engineering and architectural expertise. So we kind of take the risk with the customers and own the projects from start to finish. And the end goal is to get customers to having an operational security program they're super proud of. And with that being said, I kind of see like 3 levels that we really work with customers on. It's visibility, prevention, and automation. And we kind of work in that order. And we had a lot of projects come up with OT security, and I kept finding products that we might be able to use to get visibility to the shop floor. And I'd find products that we might be able to do prevention and automation. But the pain point is we were always just using like enterprise firewalls, and we had to, segment the shop floor up. And you might be able to do that with 3 or 4, different factories. But a lot of our customers are enterprise, so they have hundreds of factories, hundreds of floors. So a lot of the times we'd start with that visibility piece, and we buy technologies out there in the market to get great visibility, great risk management, really good technology. But then it's like, okay, this is great. Now we got to prevent things. We got to automate things. We got to make our customers' life easy. And I just couldn't find a product out there that you didn't end up having to segment the crap out of the shop floor to enable prevention, right? And automation. And when we started working together, Jeff, it was like that first factory we did together with that mutual customer, I think it was like 2 hours, right? We installed you guys' switches. We put the controllers in. The next thing you know, we knew everything on the floor. And with a couple clicks of a couple buttons, we had full micro segmentation and a policy written over 2 hours of being in a learning mode. And so I was just super impressed that I was able to accomplish visibility, prevention, and automation on that floor within a couple hours. And normally that project would take my team with enterprise security tools months to get just one factory done. And then to get a company with hundreds of factories out there might take us years to accomplish.
Yeah. Which some in the services industry might look at that and go, oh, only 2 hours. But obviously that's not the case here, because as you've stated a dozen times, your end goal is your customer's satisfaction and your ability to enable them to secure their OT space. And that's really something that, our background is the OT space. And while our tools are very capable in an enterprise IT area, they're really designed with a lot of the challenges that are unique to the OT space. Visibility being a common challenge everywhere. So we don't have necessarily the corner of the market on visibility, because there's lots of tools that bring visibility. But what we do have is visibility and control / prevention, which is very important. And then to follow that up, we have the ability to, so many times I hear customers I'm talking to, they have these complex solutions, and the complex solution, they might get it to the point where it works, or their supplier or vendor might get it to the point where it works. But at the end of the day, it's so convoluted and so complex that, they're on the floor, they're in manufacturing, they're trying to do what they do, which is their core competency, which is manufacture. None of them look at, cybersecurity or any of this visibility or control and prevention as something they want to do. So it has to be easy. It has to be, something they can set up, that once they go through the effort of setting it up, which is not tremendous, then there's a level of automation that helps, make things easier. I tell people that our solutions work like you think on the plant floor. I want this PLC to talk to that robot over this protocol. And that's how you configure the system. You think about it just like that. So we've definitely done that on purpose. It's by design.
Yeah, I think when we were in the our mutual customer and we were working on it, like, I'm so used to working with the guys in suits and the security engineers at these big companies. And it was kind of interesting because you go there and you're doing like a massive OT project, and they got their boots on and their hard hats and everything like that. It's a completely different environment. And I think if I quote it right, the customer said, hey, what I like about this solution is it just works. Like, I don't have the security team coming to me all the time going, hey, I just saw some visibility that this is happening on the floor and I don't like that. So then I got to go in and, maybe move cables or change a bunch of rules on a firewall somewhere and do a bunch of work. he's like, what's nice about DYNICS is we put it in, it just works, right? We know everything that was talking to everything. We built our policy, and I don't have to worry about the security team reaching out to me and going, hey, go make all these 20 changes to keep something secure. I just know it's secure.
Honestly, that comes from me being inherently lazy. And having been in manufacturing for 25 years as an end user, I just didn't care for 2:00 in the morning phone calls or 6 a.m. wake up calls that address this, go take care of this, do that. So lazy folks like me come up with some of the coolest things. So that's kind of been the nexus for some of our ideas, is the pain points and the struggles that I had on the plant floor. So I
100%.
appreciate your feedback on that. It's definitely useful. And it's definitely, we try to do what we do, and we try to do it for the right reasons. So getting feedback from partners like that is, it hits well and lands well, and kind of makes us look back at what we're doing and say, okay, we're going the right way with this stuff. So that's great.
Yeah, and I'll add in one more thing of like the last big piece, and a lot of customers don't ever get to this, but I think with your technology, they get to it pretty quickly, is there's always the mantra of like, hey, like there's macro segmentation and then there's micro segmentation, right? And I like to talk about macro segmentation of like, okay, maybe we put all of our PLCs in one area, or we start grouping things together and putting them in VLANs and segmenting the floor, whatever. I mean, that's how we used to have to do things. And those are the things that take forever. But what I really like about like you guys' technology is, because it's software-defined networking, like I wouldn't even configure the shop floor if I bought DYNICS with VLANs. It's just beautiful that you can write policy on each port of the switch, and it gives you just ultimate flexibility. Like, let's say you bring a really expensive machine in on the floor, and now you got a PLC that's kind of running, running that expensive machine, whatever it is. You could plug those things in. It could be a complete, flat shop floor network. And you could go into that one port and say, hey, the only thing this PLC talks to is that machine over there. And yeah, maybe some contractor needs to update this. Cool, allow them to talk to it. But it just makes life so much more flexible, having to be able to write policy by port, by machine, and not having to segment all the VLANs out. So I think that, as, we evolve with you guys, I think a lot of the stuff we've done was more on like the macro segmentation level, because when we first started, we like really didn't truly understand you guys' technology. But now that we're like digging into it a little bit more, I think, micro segmentation just becomes a lot more simplistic with your tool. And I think that with your tool sets, and I think that we are talking to customers differently now. Instead of saying, hey, this is a 6-month process, here's how we're going to do it. It's, hey guys, it's a day-long process. And I know you don't think micro segmentation is even possible on the floor, but it really is with this technology.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I said, if you've been doing, traditional networking and cybersecurity for years, while what we do is just standard Ethernet based networking and security, it's the way we go about it, the way we manage the technology and how we go about managing it. You'll have to retrain yourself a little bit, because we've engineered some of the complexities out of it, right? No VLANs, no spanning trees required. But the ability to connect to legacy and systems that everybody has 10,000 of, it's the way we did it. And sometimes it's just kind of like a mind twist to get your head around it. Well, I think the last thing I'd like to talk a little bit about is, have you got any thoughts on any of the current events going on right now in the OT cyberspace? And what do you think the next big thing is in OT cyber or cybersecurity in general?
Yeah, I think that, because AI has come out, there's just, there's so much right now around like, what can we do with the data that we have to produce better products, to produce better outcomes for the company? So like, I'm seeing a lot of conversations about like AI on the shop floor, right? How do we even automate things better? How do we take some of the data from the machines, go put it in a data lake and look at that data and make some really intelligent decisions for the machines? How do we do preventative maintenance, right? Of taking some of the data from the machines and going, hey, this probably doesn't look right. I don't like the way this is running, or I don't like the temperature over here. So a lot of our customers are talking about, how do we securely take data from the shop floor and go put it in a bucket somewhere where we can run a lot of analytics on it? And I think that brings more and more technology into the floor, which causes a lot more, cybersecurity incidents on the floor. So if you look at a lot of the news that's come out, it's new technology, right? They bring new technology into the floor. They probably don't secure it the right way, and they still have that old school mindset. And next thing you know, something's popping on the news, right? So I think you're going to see a big shift with data in the OT security space. And I think you're going to see a big shift on more and more automation as they're swapping out equipment, and it's becoming, and I think with that automation, security is just going to be even more and more important and as kind of all this technology grows on the floor.
I agree. Without a doubt, AI is going to make a big impact in that area. It's funny. I'm a bit of a chat GPT junkie now. I find that it makes so many simple tasks in the course of my day, just much quicker to get them done. Even if it's just little pieces of the puzzle of what I'm working on, it makes it so much easier. But having been in manufacturing for years, we looked at AI for years, probably 10 years ago, when the initial whole idea of AI and preventive maintenance and analyzing all of your data. And the one thing that I used to talk about, and I still talk about it, and I have a whole session I give on it, is quality of data. We had, with my former company as an end user, we had terabytes and terabytes of manufacturing data. And by and large, most of it was useless. We applied different AI engines of the time and the day to that data. And while everybody's gung-ho about collecting data, most people don't stop and think about the integrity and the quality of the data they collect. And unfortunately, you can throw the smartest AI engine in the world at a pile of garbage, and what you're going to get out is a very expensive pile of garbage. So I think people need to embrace AI as it's moving forward and understand the technology, but I also need to drop back and punt, and they need to make sure that the data they collect, and I'm going to get on my soapbox here, so I've got to stop, is relevant and makes sense. And I've got some interesting stories sometime that maybe we should do another podcast on and just talk about data, the quality of data, integrity of data, and how important all of that is to the manufacturing process. And of course, protecting that data from an OT cyber perspective is super important too. So
yeah, for sure.
Eric,
AI advancements are awesome. And being a Marine, I use ChatGPT to sound smart, I always say. So my emails have gotten a lot better and stuff. And I completely agree. The model and the data is only as good, or the model and the AI is only as good as the data that you collect. And I think a lot of customers are figuring out that it's not the most inexpensive. I hate using the word cheapest, but the most inexpensive to keep all this data, right? And if you look at ChatGPT, I think 6 months ago, I read an article that it costs $800,000 a day just in storage costs to run ChatGPT for the model. So yeah. I think you're right. You got to be smart about the data that you're pumping into these models.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, Eric, I think we're out of time for today. I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast, and thanks for being the great DYNICS OT and cyber technology partner that you are. I look forward to all of our upcoming projects and all the cool things we can do together.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.